I was 22 when I bought the house, a small, sunlit place on the edge of town with chipped white paint, uneven steps, and a wild garden that had more weeds than flowers. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt something strange, like the walls exhaled after waiting years for someone to love them again. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't luxurious. But it was mine, fully, honestly, proudly mine. The keys felt heavier than metal. They felt like proof. Proof that the girl who once shared a cramped bedroom with her older sister, the girl who worked double shifts while her sister slept until noon, the girl who was always second in her own home, had finally done something for herself. I stood in the empty living room, sunlight cutting through dusty windows, and whispered to the air, I did it. I don't know why I cried right then. Maybe it was relief. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the small, quiet victory of a daughter who grew up hearing, your sister needs this more, let her go first, you'll get your turn later. My turn never came. So I built it myself. The first people I wanted to tell were my parents. Call it naivety. Call it hope. Because even after years of favoritism, years of standing in the background while my sister, Alina, got every spotlight, some part of me still believed they would be proud. I drove to their house the same evening, the contract still warm from being printed. Mom opened the door. She didn't smile. You're early, she said, which was her usual way of saying I arrived at an inconvenient time. I bought a house, I blurted, unable to hold it in. For a full second, she just stared. Then Dad walked in from the kitchen. What house? I handed them the papers with an excited breath. My house. I closed the deal today. Mom scanned the page. Dad leaned over her shoulder. Their eyes didn't widen. Their voices didn't rise in joy. Their arms didn't open. Instead, Mom's jaw tightened. You bought a house? Yes, I said slowly. Why do you sound surprised? Dad's brows drew together. You bought it alone? Of course I did. Who else would buy it for me? That's when I noticed it. A flicker of something sharp in their eyes. Not pride. Not happiness. Something closer to irritation. Before I could understand it, Alina walked into the room, hair wrapped in a towel, wearing my father's old t-shirt like she owned the whole place. She was always treated like the princess. The untouchable one. The one whose needs were somehow always more important than everyone else's. What's happening? She asked casually. Mom handed her the papers. She bought a house. Alina's eyebrows rose, not in happiness, but disbelief. You bought a house? Yes, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'd been saving for years. She crossed her arms, and her lips curved into a tight, almost mocking smile. You didn't tell us you were planning anything like that. It was my decision, I replied. Dad sighed, heavy, disappointed. The same sigh he gave me when my sister failed a test, except this time it was directed at me. You should have discussed it with us, he said. Why? I asked. It's my money. My life. Mom exchanged a long, meaningful look with Dad. The kind that said something without speaking. Something I wasn't meant to understand yet. Still, Mom said quietly, you should have asked. Ask? For what? Permission to live? Permission to grow? Something cold slid into my stomach. Alina stepped forward. Where is it? 2 blocks from the old library, I said. Her eyes lit up, not with happiness. With something else. Something almost hungry. Oh, she whispered. That oh should have warned me. That strange silence should have warned me. But I was too blinded by the hope that maybe, just maybe, they'd come around. That one day soon, they'd stand at my doorstep with flowers, smiling, saying they were proud. I didn't know that they weren't shocked because I bought a house. They were shocked because I bought it, before her. Without them. Without permission. I left their home feeling uneasy but hopeful. I had no idea that behind their tight smiles and exchanged glances, they were already planning to take everything I had earned. Everything I had fought for. Everything that finally belonged to me. The court papers arrived 3 weeks later, on a quiet Tuesday morning. I remember the day in fragments, the kettle whistling, the sunlight hitting the kitchen tiles, the faint sound of my neighbor mowing his lawn. Everything was normal until I heard a sharp knock at the door. I opened it to a courier holding a thick white envelope. "Are you Miss?" "Yes, that's me." "Signature here." I signed, still half asleep, still unaware that the envelope in my hand would crack my world open like thin glass. When I tore it open at the kitchen table, legal documents slid out. At first, I didn't understand the words. They were cold, printed, emotionless. But one line snapped into focus. Plaintiffs, mother and father. Defendant, their daughter. Case, property claim dispute. I laughed. Actually laughed. A short, broken sound. "This has to be a mistake," I whispered. But then I read the next line. The plaintiffs claim that the purchased property rightfully belongs to their elder daughter, Alina. My laugh died. I reread it. Once. Twice. 10 times. Every word punched harder the more it sank in. My parents were suing me. For my own house. For the home I bought with my own money. And their reason? Because it should belong to my sister. My chest tightened until breathing felt painful. The pages trembled in my hands as I flipped through them, searching for a hidden message, a joke, a mistake. But there was nothing. Only signatures. My parents' signatures. My mother's neat curve. My father's jagged scrawl. Together on every page like knives cutting into the paper. Blood ink. I grabbed my phone with shaking fingers and called my mother. She picked up after 3 rings. Her voice was annoyingly calm. "Yes? Mom. I got court papers." "Oh," she said, as if discussing the weather. "Finally." "Finally?" My heart kicked against my ribs. "You knew about this? You did this?" "We didn't want it to come to this," she said. "But you left us no choice." "What choice?" "You're taking me to court." "That house belongs to your sister," she repeated, firmer this time, like I was a child being scolded. My palms went cold. "What are you talking about?" "I bought that house. With my own money." "It doesn't matter," she snapped. "You knew she needed a house. Then she can buy one. Just like I did. Don't be selfish." Selfish. They always had a special dictionary just for me. Every word twisted. My father suddenly came on the line. "You should have consulted us before making such a big purchase." "Why?" I demanded. "Because we promised your sister a house," he said. "You took what was supposed to be hers." My breath hitched. "I didn't take anything. It was never hers." "She will get married soon," he said coldly. "She needs the stability." "And I don't?" "You're strong," he said. "You can manage." The sentence stabbed me deeper than the lawsuit. Then I heard a soft laugh on speaker. "Alina. She'll lose anyway," my sister said casually. The house was supposed to be mine. Something inside me cracked, not loudly. Quietly. Like a bone snapping under skin. I hung up before I started screaming. By evening, my vision was blurry from crying. I sat on the floor of my house, my living room, holding the papers that told me my own parents saw me not as a daughter, but as a placeholder. A backup. Someone whose belongings were negotiable. That night, I barely slept. And when I did, I dreamed of the courtroom, cold, towering, and full of spectators waiting for the backup daughter to lose everything she fought for. The next morning, I hired a lawyer. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted a fight. But because for the first time in my life, I understood that blood doesn't protect you. Sometimes, it summons you to court. The courtroom was colder than I imagined. Not physically, emotionally. It felt like the kind of place where truth and lies were stripped bare and left trembling under fluorescent lights. My parents and sister sat on the opposite side, dressed in their best clothes as if attending a celebration instead of a hearing to take away their own daughters home. My mother pretended not to see me. My father stared straight ahead, jaw tight. And Alina, she looked victorious already, legs crossed, chin up, as if she was moments away from receiving an award she didn't earn. My lawyer leaned toward me. "Remember," he whispered, "you did nothing wrong. Stay calm." I nodded, though my heartbeat felt like it might crack my ribs. When the judge entered, everyone stood. I felt the air shift. The weight of everything settled on my shoulders. The case began. My parents were given the chance to speak first. My mother stood, smoothing her dress as if preparing for a family drama performance. "Your Honor," she began, voice soft and full of practiced sadness, "we love both our daughters. But this house, it rightfully belongs to our elder daughter, Alina." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Why would it belong to her?" My father chimed in, stepping forward. "We promised her a house since childhood." "And did the defendant agree to this?" the judge asked. My parents exchanged a look before my mother said, "Well, she knew." "She should have." "She should have or she did?" "Both," my mother insisted. My lawyer scribbled something on his pad. I kept my eyes fixed on my parents, trying to recognize them. But they didn't look like parents. They looked like strangers wearing familiar faces. The judge turned to Alina. "And what is your claim to this house?" She smiled sweetly. "My parents said it was mine. So she shouldn't have bought it. It's unfair." Unfair. The irony burned my tongue. The judge sighed. "I need legal grounds. Emotional desire is not ownership." My sister's smile faltered. Then my mother tried a new tactic. "Your Honor, the only reason she bought the house was to spite her sister." My mouth fell open. "That's not true." The judge lifted a hand to silence the room. "All right," he said, "enough assumptions. Let's look at evidence." That was the moment I had been waiting for. My lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we have documented proof that the defendant bought the house with her own savings, has no shared accounts with her parents, and received no financial support from them." He handed over bank statements, purchase documents, everything clean, clear, irrefutable. But that wasn't all. My lawyer opened a second folder. "We also have evidence demonstrating intent from the plaintiffs to seize the property after purchase." My mother stiffened. The judge leaned forward. "Explain." My lawyer laid out printed screenshots. Messages. So many messages. My mother messaging her sister. "Once she buys it, we'll take it and transfer it to Alina." My father to a cousin. "She only has money because we let her stay rent-free for years. The house should be ours." My sister texting a friend. "I'm not worried. Mom and Dad will force her to hand it over." Each message read aloud felt like a knife sliding out of a hidden sheath. Then came the final blow. An audio recording I took months earlier during a conversation I never meant to use, but now I needed to. My mother's voice crackled through the speakers. "Her things always end up with Alina. That's how it's supposed to be." Silence swallowed the room. My parents froze. My sister's face drained of color. The judge leaned back, expression hard. "So you intended to take your adult daughters home purely because you preferred her sister to have it?" My father swallowed. "You don't understand our culture." "No," the judge said firmly, "I understand the law." Then he turned to me. "Do you wish to say anything before I make a decision?" My hands trembled slightly as I stood. "Yes, Your Honor." I looked at my parents. At my sister. At the people who taught me my first words, my first steps, yet failed to teach me love that wasn't conditional. All my life, I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest, I was expected to give up everything for my sister. Clothes. Opportunities. Even my dreams. But this house, this was mine. The first thing I ever built for myself. And they didn't come to celebrate. They came to claim it. My mother looked away. My father's jaw clenched. Alina glared. But today, I continued, I'm done giving. The judge nodded slowly, absorbing every word. Then came the decision. The one they never expected. The courtroom felt silent, so silent I could hear my own heartbeat when the judge finally spoke. Based on the evidence, he said, adjusting his glasses, this court finds the plaintiff's claim entirely invalid and motivated by personal entitlement rather than legal right. The house belongs solely to the defendant. My breath left me like I'd been underwater for months and finally surfaced. But the judge wasn't done. In addition, he continued, the plaintiffs will pay all legal fees incurred by the defendant. Court dismissed. His gavel hit the desk. And just like that, it was over. My parents' faces twisted in disbelief. My mother's lips trembled with shock. My father looked like someone had stolen his pride right out of his chest. And my sister, my always entitled, always favored sister, stood frozen, eyes burning with humiliation. She looked at me as if I had taken something from her. But I didn't. I simply protected what was mine. As people began to leave, my mother stormed toward me, heels clicking sharply. You should be ashamed, she snapped. Her voice cracked under the weight of losing control. For what? I asked calmly. For defending what I earned? For breaking this family apart, she shouted. I felt something inside me finally settle, something that had been shaking for years. I didn't break this family, I said quietly. You did, the moment you chose favoritism over fairness. The moment you treated me like I was optional. Her eyes widened like she wasn't expecting the truth spoken out loud. My father stepped in, face red. You embarrassed us today. No, I replied. I revealed you. He clenched his fists, but before he could say more, my lawyer stepped between us. Conversation is over, he told them firmly. Alina spoke last. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. Her voice was steady, cold. You'll regret this. I held her gaze without flinching. I used to regret not being enough for you. Now I don't regret anything. Her jaw tightened. She turned and stormed away. And just like that, my family walked out of my life, slamming the door behind them with their own hands. I returned to my house that evening, the sun dipping low behind the roof. For the first time in weeks, it felt like home again. I sat in the living room and breathed deeply, letting the quiet wrap around me. No lawyers. No court threats. No fear of losing everything I worked for. Just peace. And something sweeter than victory. Freedom. Over the next few days, messages from relatives poured in. Some called me ungrateful. Some quietly congratulated me. Some said they always knew my parents favored Alina. But none of it mattered. The only voice that mattered was my own. I blocked their numbers, my parents, my sister, the relatives who sided with them. I changed my locks. I changed my routines. I changed myself. Trauma doesn't vanish overnight. But strength grows quietly, like roots under soil. I started decorating my little house, painting walls, planting flowers, fixing things that creaked. Every nail I hammered felt like reclaiming a part of myself they had tried to take. Months passed. One afternoon, while sipping tea in my blooming backyard, I realized something. I didn't just win a case. I won myself. My peace. My voice. My future. The sweetest revenge wasn't the courtroom victory or watching their entitled expressions shatter. The sweetest revenge was healing. Thriving. Living fully. Without them. Despite them. Beyond them. My life didn't end when they turned against me. It began. And as I stood in the doorway of my house, my earned, fought-for, protected home, I whispered the words that marked the start of my new beginning. I am done being the backup daughter. I choose myself now. For the first time in my life. That was enough.